All right, welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. We always love to tackle interesting topics here, and today we're diving into something that I think a lot of us experience pretty much every day: digital banking. Now, have you ever just felt like using your banking app is kind of a pain?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You think in this day and age of technology, managing your finances would be simple and intuitive?
Right, but it often feels like the opposite. It's like, why is this so complicated? And that's what's so interesting about this article from UXDA, a financial UX design agency. They're basically saying that a lot of banks are kind of missing the mark. Like they're so focused on adding all these fancy features, but they forget about the most important thing,
Which is?
making the app easy to use, user-friendly. UXDA did some research and found that every single user they tested had problems navigating these feature-packed apps. Literally 100%.
Wow, so it's not just me then. That's pretty telling.
Right. It's a clear sign that something needs to change. So instead of just adding more and more features, what if banks took a page from, say, Apple's playbook?
Ugh, Apple.
Wow.
The masters of simplicity.
Exactly. The article points to Apple Wallet as a perfect example. I mean, a digital wallet doesn't exactly scream elegance, but Apple makes it work somehow.
And it all comes down to understanding the user, what they need, and designing the product around that. They're not just throwing things in there for the sake of it. It's got to be useful. Like when they got rid of the headphone jack on iPhones a while back, remember?
Yeah, I remember a lot of people weren't too happy about that.
Yeah. Seemed kind of crazy then, but look, it pushed everyone to innovate with wireless audio, right? And in the end, actually led to a better experience for users.
Interesting point. Sometimes you had to take away to improve things. So how does this all relate back to banking?
Think about the last time you used Apple Wallet. It's clean, it's visually organized, you just swipe between cards. It's all about making things as effortless as possible.
I do love that my boarding pass just pops up when I'm at the airport. It's like it knows what I need before I do.
See? That's exactly it. Contextual accessibility. And with finances, security is a big deal, right? But Apple's integrated stuff like Face ID and Touch ID so seamlessly that you barely even notice it. No jumping through hoops every time you want to buy something.
That's true. But I mean, does all this simplicity ever come at the expense of more advanced features? Some people really want that granular control over their finances.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a balancing act for sure. You don't want to dumb things down, but you want to make complex tasks feel simple, like the difference between driving a car with an automatic versus a manual transmission. Both get you there, but one's way easier to handle.
Okay, I get that. So it's all about making things intuitive, even if they're complicated under the hood. This article also has a bunch of recommendations for how banks can actually apply all these Apple-inspired ideas.
Yeah, and a big one is user-centric onboarding. Imagine, right, a nice restaurant, you walk in and there's a host who welcomes you, shows you to your table, explains the menu. You want that same kind of guidance when you first open a banking app, especially if you're not used to digital banking.
Yeah, I can imagine being totally overwhelmed if you're just bombarded with features and options right off the bat.
Yeah.
Just point me in the right direction.
Right. And then there's streamlined navigation. Make the really important tasks, checking your balance, transferring money, all that, super easy to find. Nobody wants to click through a million menus just to do the basics.
Speaking of clicking, you know what I really like about Apple products? It's those satisfying little details, like the haptics feedback when you tap a button, or the subtle animations. It just makes the whole thing feel more, alive.
Those are micro interactions, and they actually play a huge role, believe it or not. They kind of tap into our emotions and make the whole experience more engaging and, honestly, fun.
It's like adding a little bit of delight to something that could be pretty boring.
Yeah, exactly. It's those small touches that can make a big difference in how we perceive a product. It's not just about the functionality, it's the whole experience.
It's like that Michelin-starred street food stall the article mentioned, remember? They might not have a fancy restaurant, but they focus on the customer experience and end up with this huge following.
It just goes to show this isn't just for big companies. It's a mindset any business can adopt. Make your customers feel valued, understood.
This is a really great start to our deep dive. We've already uncovered some amazing ideas. So where do we go from here?
Well, the article dives deeper into how this design thinking needs to go beyond the app's interface, like become part of the whole company's culture. That's what we'll explore next.
Okay, so we've talked about how banks can learn from Apple when it comes to their apps. But this article takes it a step further, saying this whole design-focused approach needs to be everywhere in the organization. Not just like a little sprinkle of design here and there.
Exactly. It can't just be a talented design team. It has to be like baked into the company's DNA, part of their core, you know?
And they actually lay out 5 levels where this design thinking should be applied. They call it process, team, action, results, and value. It sounds kind of intense. Where do we even start with all that?
Okay, well, let's think about process first. Imagine a restaurant, right? But it's one of those really well-run places. Everything's smooth, from the kitchen to the waitstaff, and it all comes together to create this awesome dining experience. It's not just the food itself, it's the whole package.
Okay, I'm seeing like a perfectly choreographed dance of chefs and waiters, and I, the diner, get to enjoy the show.
Haha, exactly. And just like that restaurant, companies need to look at all their processes, every single one, with the customer in mind, even asking questions like, how does this actually help our clients? Or what kind of positive emotions does this create? It's a whole shift in thinking.
So it's not just the processes that directly affect customers, right?
Yeah.
Even internal stuff.
Right. Every decision, even the little ones, should come back to the customer. How does this impact them? What's the benefit? Their well-being, their satisfaction, that has to be the focus.
That's a big change for a lot of companies, especially those that are used to just focusing on like efficiency or the bottom line above everything else.
It is a shift, yeah. But it can pay off big time. When you create that kind of culture where everyone genuinely cares about the customer experience, it shows in everything.
Okay, so we've got good processes in place. What about the team part of this whole equation?
Well, you need the right people, right? To actually make this vision happen. Designers who not only have the skills, but who get it, who understand the users they're designing for.
I'm guessing not every company has a team of design superstars just waiting to go.
Yeah.
How do you actually build that kind of design-focused culture if it's not already there?
Sometimes you got to grow it from within. Maybe train the people you already have, bring in mentors, hire some new folks with French ideas.
Plant the seed and hope it grows into a big, beautiful, user-centric sunflower.
Exactly. And once you have the right team, you got to let them do their thing. That's where the action level comes in. It's about empowering those designers, giving them a voice in decisions, making collaboration a priority.
Because even the best designers in the world can't make a difference if they're stuck in a silo.
Exactly. Design can't be an afterthought. It's got to be woven into how the company works, from the top down.
So we've got process, team, action. Now what about results? You can't just throw a bunch of design ideas out there and hope for the best, right?
Nope. You got to track how your design choices are actually doing. Are they actually leading to happier customers? Are people more engaged?
How do you even measure something like customer satisfaction? Is it all about surveys?
Surveys can be helpful, yeah. But there are other things to look at too, like NTS, the Net Promoter Score. It measures how likely people are to tell their friends about your product or service, which is a pretty good indicator of loyalty, you know.
Right. For those who don't know, it's like a score from 0 to 10.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also track things like how much people are actually using your app, how long they stick around, what features are the most popular. It's all valuable data.
Like having this data dashboard that shows you what's working and what needs tweaking.
Yep, exactly that. And then all of this leads to the final level. Value. When you put design thinking into every single step, what you ultimately create is massive value for your customers. And that's where the real magic happens.
It's like each step makes the next step better, and the end result is something that isn't just functional, it's amazing. It goes above and beyond.
It's not just about meeting needs, it's about exceeding them and creating those wow moments, you know, the kind of experiences that stick with people.
I'm really starting to see how all this fits together, but there's one thing I'm still wondering about, this whole Apple's why thing. What does that even mean?
That's a great question. It leads us to one of the most important ideas in this article, this idea that successful companies like Apple have a clear sense of purpose. It's not just about making money, there's something more driving them.
So it's like their guiding star, right?
Right.
Informing everything they do. But how do you even figure out what that why is? And how do you make sure it shows up in your actions? It's like this secret ingredient, right? This why that makes a company truly great. But how do you even find it? And once you do, how do you actually make it real, make it part of everything you do?
Well, the article talks about this idea from Simon Sinek, this golden circle. It basically says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. You know, like take Apple. Their why isn't just, let's make cool tech gadgets. It's way deeper than that.
It's like empowering people through technology or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's that belief that fuels everything they do. And the article's saying, banks, They need to find their own version of that. Like, what are they really passionate about? What kind of positive change do they want to make in the world? And once they have that, it needs to be the driving force behind every decision.
So like if a bank's why is, let's say, to help people be financially secure, that should show up in everything. The app, how they train their employees, all of it.
Exactly. And it can't just be empty words. It has to translate into actions. What are they actually doing to make that happen?
I keep thinking back to that street food stall, the one with the Michelin star.
Mhm.
Their why could be something like bringing people joy through food
Mhm.
or building community.
Right. And that translates into everything. The ingredients they use, how they treat their customers. It's not just about selling food, it's about the whole experience they're creating.
It makes me think about my own experiences with banks. I've definitely used some that feel very, I don't know, transactional, like just get in, do your business and get out. But then others feel more personal, almost delightful.
That's a great point, and it goes back to that why. When a company knows what they stand for, it comes through in every interaction.
I'm getting it now. It's not enough for banks to just have an app that works. They need to create an experience that actually connects with people on a deeper level.
That's it. Think about a time you had a really good experience with a brand. What was it about that experience that made it so memorable?
Yeah, it probably wasn't just the product itself. It was probably how they made me feel, right? Like I was valued, respected.
Exactly. And that's what banks need to aim for. They got to move beyond the transactional and focus on building real relationships with their customers.
So what we're really saying is banks need to stop obsessing over features and start obsessing over people. They need to channel their inner Apple, so to speak, and make banking something that's simple, intuitive, and maybe even a little bit magical.
They got to bring design thinking to everything they do. Build a culture where the customer is at the center of it all. Because ultimately, it's not about making a banking app. It's about making people's lives better.
And if they can do that, well, the profits will take care of themselves. We've covered a lot of ground today. What's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
Next time you're using your banking app, really pay attention. How does it make you feel? Does it seem like it was actually designed with you in mind? If not, what would you change?
That's a great question for all of us to think about. We should be critical of the digital experiences we have. Maybe some of those ideas could lead to a revolution in banking. Who knows?
I'd love to see it. It's time for banks to raise the bar and create something that truly serves their customers.
This has been a fantastic deep dive into the world of Apple-inspired banking UX. We've learned that simplicity, user-centric design, and a powerful sense of purpose are crucial for creating truly great customer experiences.
And this is really just the start of the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences. Let's keep pushing for a future where technology is a force for good.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep diving deep, everybody.